Hi, I'm Seth, and I'm pretty great. I, I think so. I think I'm okay. I'm pretty good. I'm great. I'm great. Welcome to the good world.
One, two, three.
So come on into a place that is fun. I'll be your friend and you can be mine. The world is a stream of constant bullshit, but that doesn't mean there's not a whole lot of good shit. You start with the mean and we can make something different. Let's build a world that is good.
This is a show for adults. Hi, friends. Welcome to the good world. My name is Seth. I don't know what I'm going to talk about today. I put out videos on Mondays and Thursdays, and so I need to do one for Thursday, and I don't know what it's going to be. Yeah, I wanted to actually talk about my process of becoming approved for ordination, which I mentioned on my last episode, and something that sort of came up at the end. You know, I did some crowd cheering sounds for myself. I have a very, very hard time praising myself, celebrating myself, getting excited about my own accomplishments, or at least sharing that excitement with other people. I have a very hard time receiving compliments. And at some point, Susie, after I was approved for ordination, after I finished my panel, Susie and I went out for dinner to celebrate. And she asked me about my panel. And one of the things that I thought about and I shared with her is it was kind of an exercise for me in receiving compliments. Because, as I said, that is something I am not comfortable doing. And the whole purpose of this panel was to sort of go through my work and evaluate my work and sort of my readiness for ordination. And that meant that the people who read my work and were choosing to approve me for ordination liked what they read and told me that. And I had to sit there and listen to them compliment me, which was hard. And it's so silly that should be difficult, right? Like, it is all I think all most of us want, and I've done episodes about this before. I think all most of us want is to sort of be liked and to be seen with approval by others. And a lot of my work that ultimately led me to seminary and is sort of a big part of what I am personally working on in my work on myself is getting past that part of me that needs approval, that can't do things without approval, right? That does things that don't feel true to me if they won't get me approval, right? What I left my career, I started a YouTube channel. Most of my friends and family have no idea why I did that, don't really understand it. And I have had to accept that means that I'm just going to keep doing this thing without that approval. At least, you know, then there's the possibility that at some point this will be a successful channel, and then there will absolutely, I will have the impulse to say, look, see, I made the thing and it's successful, and so now you can give me your approval for the thing you didn't understand why I was doing, and that might not that probably won't happen. Let's be honest, right? Let's be realistic. My YouTube channel here, which as of this morning, I think had 129 subscribers, which is like pretty good, honestly. It's a lot more than zero. But the odds that I will end up with thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of subscribers is vanishingly small. I might get into the thousands. I might even get into the tens of thousands. Probably not going to get into the hundreds of thousands. Almost definitely not going to get into the millions. But that's not why I'm doing this thing, right? And I have had to spend now 4 years sort of coming to terms with, okay, the people in my life don't understand what I'm doing. Even my spouse, it took Susie a pretty long time to get to the point of being like, okay, I think I kind of understand what you're doing. And I felt very compelled to explain it to her, and I felt very compelled to explain it to everyone for a pretty long time. And it was holding me back. In the early days of making things, I made some videos, and then I would share them with my friends. And my friends, all being the sort of highly educated, critical thinkers that they are, the response that I generally got was, Well, I sort of, that was interesting, but like there was a lot of stuff that was boring. You need an editor to cut things out. You should be doing more fast cuts. You should be doing more vertical things. And everyone had an opinion and everyone had feedback. And it was paralyzing to me to sit there and try to digest that feedback because it made me feel like I was doing everything wrong. It and let's be honest, it's not like my friends who like me are in their 40s are really plugged into what say 20-year-olds are watching on YouTube, right? Most of my friends don't actually understand that or not even understand, don't actually know what a big platform YouTube is. I chose to go on YouTube because that's where a lot of people are, and I'm just trying to sort of get my message out to anyone who's interested in it. Uh, I and most of my friends are podcast listeners because we're like NPR people, right? We listen to like This American Life and Radiolab and No Such Thing as a Fish. All three of those are podcasts that I really enjoy, but there's a very, very specific audience for those that is not necessarily the same as the audience of people who are out there on YouTube. But I got this feedback from my friends who are honestly not. I mean, look, if my friends want to watch this, that's great, or listen to it, also great. But that's not. I am not making these videos for my friends. I am on some level, I'm making them for myself. And on some level, I'm making them for sort of past versions of myself that exist in other people who might come across this. And so I've talked about insecurities that I've worked through in the past and and sort of the difficulties of 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 being a man and sort of trying to find a version of masculinity that doesn't hurt me or hurt other people. And that comes from a place of real experience. That comes from a place of hurting other people. That comes from a place of myself. I have felt very lonely at times in my life, right? I'm happily married now, but like as a teenager, I was a very, very lonely person. And through my 20s and into my 30s, I mean, Susie and I met when I was 33. Wow, we've been together a while, almost 10 years. But we met when I was 33, and so since then I am less alone, right? I have companionship on a day-to-day basis. In addition to, I have friends. But even when I have had a lot of friends in the past and was not romantically involved with anyone, I still felt very isolated and still felt very alone. And so the people who I am making this show for, I've had friends say like, so what is the demographic, like men with beards? Like, who's your target audience? And I'm like, I don't know. It might be men with beards. I'm a man with a beard, but mostly it's just anyone who is out there kind of feeling alone and not really knowing how to navigate things. My hope is that by showing what a future could look like and what a future does look like for someone who was in a similar place, hopefully I can give people, I don't know, a little bit of hope, a little bit of comfort, a little bit of community. That's all I'm actually trying to do here. But it was so easy, it's still so easy to get caught up in, is this getting people to like me? Is this what people want? And especially when I get I'm not even, my inclination there was to say negative feedback, and really I just mean like criticism of any kind. It can even be positive, constructive criticism. But my sort of instinctive reaction when I feel that is like, oh no, I'm bad. And something that actually came up in the course of my ordination process, one of the requirements that I had it was called a vocational assessment. And basically I had to meet with, she's a therapist among many other things. But so I met with this person. Before I met with her, I had to fill out this very, very long questionnaire going through a lot of really, really personal things, right? I had to be really, really vulnerable and talk about like childhood trauma and talk about times I've hurt other people and talk about my fears and my anxieties and my wants. All of these things are really vulnerable and personal things. And so I shared all of these things with this person, and she wrote a pretty long report, basically just talking about me, right? I read a report about myself that I also had to send to my advisors. Susie also got to read it. And one of the things that she talked about this therapist, who I'm not gonna name because it's sort of a weird professional relationship thing, but she wrote about the fact that she said something like, Seth is very interested in feedback and constructive criticism, but he can have a hard time receiving constructive criticism because he takes things so personally. And I don't think I had ever articulated that for myself, and so hearing someone else say it sort of turned on this light bulb. It's like, oh, I do want feedback, and I do want to improve, but also it really hurts me when I receive feedback that could help me improve, and that's a hard thing to hold. That sound that just happened means it's time to take a quick break, but we will be right back.
Please like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe.
Yes, friends, once again it is time to remind you to hit the like button. I feel like I think like is on this side and subscribe is on this side, which, nope, yeah, thumbs up over here, subscribe over here. I think that's right. Which, if that's backwards, you can do it the other way. But please hit one of those buttons. Share this with your friends. If you're listening, write a review. Interaction, engagement, right? That helps the algorithm tell people that this is out there. And I'm just trying to get this message out there. You can also go to goodworld.love where you can buy merch. This shirt is available there in a variety of colors. You can sign up to sponsor me on Patreon. Also, in the spirit of celebrating myself, I got my first Patreon subscriber yesterday, Jacob. Yes, I had two. I now have three, but Jacob is my first patron on Patreon, who is not a close personal friend or a relative, just a person who came across this content and liked it. So thank you, Jacob. You're getting a shout out here for being the first patron. And also we're going to like do a Zoom or something. Yeah, you can support me there. Anything that you feel compelled to do to help get this out there would be great. And if you don't want to do that, that is okay too, but I sure would appreciate it. So, back to this idea of celebrating myself, right? It is hard for me to receive criticism, even if it's constructive and even if it comes from a positive place. And so I have had to learn to sort of sit and be like, okay, these negative feelings that I'm having it's part of it, and that's okay. It's just part of the process, right? It's there's the idea in working out that like pain is weakness leaving the body. And so there is a sense in which emotional pain can be emotional weakness leaving the body. It can be sort of the building up of resilience. At the very least, building up resilience is going to require navigating some amount of pain and some amount of discomfort. And this is something that I've also talked about with some friends of mine. I think I'm going to do an episode with two of my classmates from seminary who are also ordaining soon. But we talked about sort of this difficulty, and a thing that I have had to really, really work with is, okay, I am putting myself out there. I am putting my feelings on the internet. I am being vulnerable in public. And that is going to be uncomfortable. And I don't think it's ever going to stop being uncomfortable. I think it is going to always be, maybe the discomfort will lessen, but I think it's always going to be a little uncomfortable. And asking other people, inviting people to come on the show. I've had 3 episodes so far where I've had friends come and join me here. And I want to do a lot more of those because honestly, they're really fun on my end. And hopefully people enjoy them. You can let me know in the comments below if you enjoy those conversation episodes more or less than the solo ones. I'm probably still going to try to have more of those while also continuing to do these. But I had a conversation with 2 of my classmates about how even asking people to come on this thing, and this came up in the conversation with Naomi and Lance, asking people to come on this thing is even being a little bit vulnerable, even when it's friends of mine who I've known for a long time, maybe even more when it's friends of mine who I've known for a long time versus asking a total stranger to come on. Because if they say no, it's like, well, of course they said no. I'm a total stranger. I'm a total stranger with 129 subscribers. They don't need to spend their time on my show. But just asking people, hey, I'm doing this thing. I really care about it. Could you come maybe participate and care about it with me? Like maybe we make a thing together and we care about the thing together. And that is uncomfortable and it's risking rejection. And putting this on the internet is risking rejection. And I don't think I will ever get to a point where whatever rejection might come out of that is going to be no big deal. In the words of Pumbaa from The Lion King, I'm a sensitive soul, though I seem thick-skinned. I am a sensitive person. I take it personally sometimes when people criticize me. That's not a unique thing. We see a lot of very visible political leaders and corporate leaders and sort of famous people. If they are attacked in public or even just criticized in public, they often take it very personally. They lash out very publicly, very visibly in reaction to what we can recognize as emotional pain and emotional distress if we're seeing it, right? And a lot of the discussion around, I'll just use the phrase cancel culture, like what that anxiety is, let's say I am afraid of being canceled. My anxiety is a whole lot of people who don't even know me are only going to know one bad thing about me. And look, I've done bad things. I've been an awful person to people before. It's been a while since I've been a really awful person to anyone, and it's something I've been working on, but like that's there, right? And I think that's there for anyone. And so the anxiety is I'm going to be judged by so many strangers. The anxiety is the entire world is going to decide that they hate me. Like it gets presented as a concern about, oh, my career's going to be done. And that does, as we have talked about before, that does overlap with our sense of self-worth because our culture tells us that a lot of our self-worth is tied to our professional lives. And so concern about being canceled is also concern about professional futures, but a lot of what's underpinning that concern about professional futures is still concern about self-worth, right? If I am concerned about being canceled, it's actually I am concerned about other people evaluating my worth and them evaluating it as being low and that hurting my feelings. Fundamentally, it's about I'm afraid of having my feelings hurt. And I am not saying that to dismiss it. I am saying that because having our feelings hurt is actually a really important thing and a painful experience for us. And we talk about it so much in the context of like, oh, I have to care about other people's feelings. Well, that reaction comes from a place of your own feelings. If I'm saying, fuck your feelings, that includes the phrase fuck you, which is not something you say if you're having no feelings, right? The phrase fuck you is something you say when you're having a lot of feelings, when you're feeling really hurt and you're lashing out at the people who in your mind have hurt you. You are having a lot of feelings. You're experiencing a lot of pain and you're saying fuck you, fuck your feelings. That's feelings. That's you having a lot of feelings. You, whoever you are. If I'm doing that, that's me having a lot of feelings. And we sort of talk about feelings as this thing that doesn't really matter. We talk about emotions as, we talk about it as weak. We talk about it as effeminate, as this thing, as childish even, right? And in my view, a place that I've come to, I didn't start out here, but sort of through doing all of this work on myself, I have come to realize, oh, those emotions are there. They're happening. And I can either sit and look at them and try to sit with the way that they're affecting me and try to navigate it so that I don't cause more harm, or I can shove it down, I can deny, pretend, no, I don't have feelings. Feelings are for weak people. F*** your feelings. This is all about your feelings. That's what's happening. But ultimately that just comes from, I have emotional discomfort and I don't know what to do with it. And so when I am making videos here, I have been realizing that I have to navigate a lot of emotional discomfort. And as I said, that emotional discomfort is never going to totally go away. I think it will lessen. And I think particularly as more people hopefully enjoy this channel, that'll help balance some of it out. But rejection feels bad. It always feels bad. And The kind of resilience that I have had to work on is saying, okay, there are parts of this that are going to feel bad, but the fact that it's going to feel bad isn't a reason for me to not do it. In fact, sometimes the fact that it feels bad is all the more reason I need to do it, right? Sometimes the thing that we're afraid of doing is the thing we really need to be doing. It's tough because sometimes the thing that we're afraid of doing is like a thing to actually be afraid of. The narrative example I used recently is like, we have a narrative that says, don't go into a lake with alligators because alligators are dangerous. If I'm walking past a lake full of alligators and I say, oh, I'm really afraid to go to the lake, that means that it must be what I need to do is go swim with alligators. Like, it doesn't have to be that way. But if I'm thinking, oh, I'm really afraid of being judged and I'm really afraid of putting myself out there, sometimes that's a thing we need to do anyway. And part of how we can navigate that, part of how we can make that easier on ourselves, is learning to celebrate ourselves. And it doesn't have to be in an egotistical, I started off saying, oh, I am so great. I'm pretty good. And I kind of backed off it, right? That bell means it's time for me to wrap up. Oh, I'm glitching. Part of how we navigate the fear of discomfort, this fear of judgment, all of that, is by celebrating ourselves. Again, not in an arrogant, not in a superior way, right? I don't have to say I'm great and therefore I'm better than you. And also, if I'm complimenting you, I don't have to say you're great and therefore better than me. We're all people, right? We all have things about us that are great. We all have things about us that are not so great. I will say, like, I've traveled to a lot of places. I've been to a lot of different countries and met a lot of people in a lot of different places. And the one thing I can say about everyone is they're all people, right? Everyone is people. And part of being people is doing things that are great, and part of being people is doing things that are bad. But honestly, the least we can do is just be happy for ourselves and be happy for each other when we have some successes. And so last time I was talking about being approved for ordination, and that's the culmination of ultimately 4 years of work. It's not totally done, but the bulk of it is done. I'm like way over the hump now. And that's exciting, right? I put all of this work into this thing and I am through the thing. And coming back to a couple episodes ago, the idea of Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the hill and how that doesn't have to be a punishment. That's kind of just life. I have been pushing the ordination boulder up the hill and I'm just about at the top. And I've sort of, if maybe if it's a hillside and there's like a lip here and it goes down and then it sort of flattens, like I'm over that lip now and I'm just kind of pushing it to the end. And that's great. It's really exciting. I can celebrate that. Yeah, when I'm done with that, I'm going to have to start pushing the boulder up a different hill, and that's just reality, but that's okay. I can be proud of myself. I can be happy for myself. I can be excited. I can be proud of my friends who have also passed their panels and who are also ordaining with me. That's going to be really delightful and exciting. Like, I'm very excited to ordain with some good friends of mine. I'm very happy for them. I'm happy for myself. And it takes all of this work of saying over and over again, I'm happy for myself. I'm happy for myself. I'm proud of myself. Because that is not a thing that comes natural to me. Instead, I am so afraid of criticism that I don't even think about the good things. I just worry about the bad things. I could do a whole other episode at some point about behavioral economics and prospect theory and loss aversion. But for the moment, we are at time. And so I'm going to end it there for today. Where's my pick? Here's my pick. Well, thank you, friends, for your visit today. Now it's time we both go on our way. The world will still be insane tomorrow, but don't let that fill your heart with sorrow. You can thrive in a desert, just ask a saguaro. Please give to my Patreon. Capitalism is fun. Let's build a world that is good. This is a show for adults. Bye, friends. Thanks so much.